Transformation begins when you stop polishing your disguise and start facing what's underneath. And there, beneath the noise of who you were told to be, your soul begins to stir. This isn't magic, it's science. Every repeated thought, every automatic reaction carves grooves in your brain. Over time, those grooves become identity. Neuroplasticity means your brain can rewire. What fires together, wires together. But the miracle, the same brain that learned fear, can learn freedom. Change doesn't start with motivation. It starts with awareness. As Viktor Frankl wrote, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose. That space, that's where transformation lives. But neuroscience alone can't explain the ache. Jung said real change requires facing what you've buried. Modern trauma research agrees. When emotions are felt, not avoided, the nervous system recalibrates. The past stops looping. The body stops bracing. The mind begins to trust its own calm. Your brain isn't just an organ, it's a storyteller. And it's time to stop believing every chapter before this one was final. Because transformation isn't an idea you think, it's a truth you feel. And feeling it is where the rewiring truly begins. There comes a moment when everything you were begins to collapse. Not with drama, but in silence. The kind that hums behind closed doors and sinks into your bones. You wake up and the world feels too small. Conversations sound hollow. Relationships feel foreign. Even your reflection seems like a ghost. Mystics call this the dark night of the soul. Psychologists, ego death. It's not depression, it's dismantling. Your nervous system trembles, grief and relief tangle together. Your brain panics, screaming, you're falling apart. But you're not. You're being made new. Like a garden in winter, barren on the surface, but roots rearranging below. This emptiness, it's not a void, it's a doorway. And real transformation doesn't rush. It lingers in the ruins. Because before something can be born, something must be allowed to die. No one warns you. Transformation is lonely. Growth feels like mourning. You walk through a life that no longer fits, surrounded by faces that no longer see you. And you wonder, was it worth it? But then, amid the grief, a whisper returns, faint but steady, a new rhythm forming beneath the loss. You stop fighting what you're losing and start listening to what's trying to emerge. The silence becomes sacred. The loneliness becomes space. And rebuilding begins, not with fanfare, but with small, honest choices. You set boundaries, not as walls, but as acts of self-respect. You write, not to be understood, but to understand yourself. You meet your shadow, anger, fear, desire, and stop exiling it. Because those parts weren't enemies, they were messengers. This is integration. Healing isn't about becoming perfect. It's about becoming whole. And slowly, you realize you were never broken, only rearranged. Transformation isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you to forget. So look at that old photo again, the person staring back. They're not a stranger. Their eyes aren't naive. They're gentle, forgiving, because they weren't weak. They were becoming. Every heartbreak, every collapse, not an ending, but a necessary dismantling. Because all life moves in cycles. Stars collapse to forge light. Forests burn to make room for roots. Hearts break, so love can be revealed, not just found. As Nietzsche wrote, you must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star. That chaos, it was never your enemy. It was the fire preparing you for flight. The phoenix doesn't rise despite the ashes. It rises because of them. So breathe. Stop running from the ruins. Start building temples out of them. Forgive yourself for the versions that had to die, so this one could live. See the cracks, not as flaws, but as doorways, because you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve, to fall apart, and come together again and again, until every fragment remembers its place in the whole. That is sacred destruction. That is the phoenix within you, burning, rising, burning again. Not to become someone new, but to remember, even in the ashes, you were always the fire.